The sun hung low over the pitch, casting a golden hue across the stadium as the crowd began to fill the stands. It was the final selection match before the National Academy trials, the kind of game where reputations were made or destroyed. Among the sea of white jerseys and shining helmets stood two players who didn't yet know that this match would change everything. Ethan Parker and Amelia Grace. Ethan was the team star batsman, confident, fearless, the kind of player who turned heads the moment he walked out with a bat. He played with ease, like the game was an extension of his heartbeat. Amelia, on the other hand, was new, a talented all-rounder with a quiet determination that didn't need noise to be noticed. Her bowling had precision, her fielding was sharp, and her focus unshakable. The stadium announcer called her name. Next bowler, Amelia Grace. The crowd murmured, surprised to see a woman in a men's exhibition match. Ethan raised an eyebrow, twirling his bat. He wasn't one to underestimate, but he couldn't help his curiosity. She jogged to the crease, ponytail swinging, eyes fixed on him. For a moment, their gazes met. A spark of rivalry, maybe something more. The umpire signaled play. Amelia took her run-up, smooth and powerful. The ball flew past Ethan before he could react. A perfect in-swinger that brushed his pads. A collective gasp filled the air. Ethan looked back at her, half annoyed, half impressed. "Nice one," he muttered. She smiled faintly. There'll be more where that came from. And there was. Over after over, she tested him. He countered with clever shots, but she matched his rhythm, never losing focus. The tension wasn't hostile, it was electric. Each delivery, each glance between them, carried something unspoken, respect, challenge, and something that neither of them wanted to name yet. When the match ended, the scoreboard read victory for Ethan's side barely. Amelia had bowled brilliantly, taking 3 wickets, including the captain's. As the players shook hands, Ethan found himself standing in front of her. "Didn't expect to work that hard today," he said, smiling. "Guess you'll remember my name now." She looked at him with a calm confidence. "Only if you remember the one who almost bowled you out." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that first ball, the one that had curved past his bat like poetry in motion. He'd played against dozens of bowlers, but none like her. She was precise, graceful, unpredictable. Something about her energy felt different. The next morning, during training, their paths crossed again. Both had been selected for the National Academy shortlist. "So we meet again," Ethan said, grabbing a bottle of water. "Looks like destiny's got a sense of humor." Amelia smiled faintly. "Or maybe it's just cricket." He laughed, shaking his head. "Cricket, sure. Let's see who gets the last laugh when we're teammates." Over the following weeks, they trained side by side, batting, bowling, running drills until dusk. Slowly, their rivalry softened into partnership. He learned to trust her bowling at the nets. She learned to rely on his guidance in tense moments. What began as a contest evolved into connection. One evening, during a late net session, the lights flickered and the rest of the team had gone. It was just the two of them, the quiet hum of the floodlights, and the faint echo of the ball against the turf. Amelia bowled, Ethan missed. The ball rolled gently to his feet. "Losing your touch," she teased. "Maybe you're distracting me," he replied, smiling. She froze, caught off guard. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. He walked toward her, holding the ball out. "You're not just good, Amelia," he said softly. "You're incredible." She looked up at him, the glow of the lights reflecting in her eyes. "And you talk too much," she whispered, taking the ball back. He laughed quietly. "You'll get used to it." That night, something changed. Neither said a word about it, but they both felt it. That strange, gentle shift from competition to something warmer. Weeks turned into months. Together, they made the final team, traveled across the country, played tournaments, won matches, lost some, but always came back stronger. Their chemistry on the field became famous. The perfect pair, the commentators called them. The bowler and the batsman who moved like they shared one heartbeat. But behind the laughter, the trophies, and the applause, feelings grew quietly, like the soft rhythm of rain behind closed doors. Ethan started noticing the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. Amelia found herself waiting for his jokes, just to see his smile. Neither dared to say it aloud. After all, love in cricket was like a no-ball, risky, unpredictable, and bound to change the game. The national championship was approaching, and with it came pressure, scouts, and media attention. It was their chance to prove themselves, not just as players, but as something greater. But under the surface of triumph and ambition, both of them were starting to realize the truth. They weren't just playing for victory anymore. They were playing for each other. The air around the National Academy training ground carried a nervous excitement. Every player wanted to make an impression before the official team announcement. For Ethan and Amelia, it wasn't just another day. It was another chapter in the silent story that was slowly writing itself between them. Amelia arrived early, her duffel bag slung over her shoulder, her hair tied up, eyes sharp with determination. She liked mornings. They were quiet, honest, untouched by expectations. Ethan, on the other hand, showed up late, as usual, flashing that mischievous grin that drove the coaches half mad and the fans completely insane. "You're late again," Amelia said, tossing him a ball. He caught it with ease. "Fashionably late," he replied, stretching. "There's a difference." "Maybe try being fashionably early for once," she teased. He chuckled. "And missed the chance to see you annoyed?" "Never." Their banter had become legendary among the teammates. Some called them the Academy's most entertaining duo, a combination of fire and calm, chaos and control. But beneath the laughter, something unspoken simmered. Every time their eyes met over the nets or during drills, it lingered a little longer than it should have. That day's training focused on doubles practice. Pairs had to communicate, read each other's movements, and react in sync. A perfect test of chemistry. Coach Harris, a seasoned cricketer himself, assigned Ethan and Amelia together. "Let's see if the golden duo can match their timing off the field too," he said with a grin. At first, they played as usual, sharp, fast, instinctive. Ethan's batting guided her running. Amelia's judgment guided his calls. But midway through the drill, something happened. Ethan called for a quick single, and Amelia hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. The throw came in fast. She dived, sliding across the turf, dust flying everywhere. Ethan rushed toward her. "You okay?" She sat up, brushing the dirt from her arms, smiling. "Next time, call louder." He extended a hand. "Next time, trust me." For a brief moment, she didn't take his hand. Then, slowly, she did, her palm against his, heartbeat racing faster than the stadium clock. The world seemed to pause. The noise of the other players faded, replaced by the sound of wind rustling through the nets. Later that afternoon, after practice, they sat side by side on the benches, sipping water, watching the sky turn orange. "You really think we can make it to the Nationals?" Amelia asked. Ethan glanced at her, the fading sunlight glinting in his eyes. "With you on the team, I'd bet my bat on it." She smiled softly. "That's risky." "So is falling for someone who bowls like you," he said before realizing what had slipped out. Silence. Amelia blinked, unsure if she'd heard him right. Ethan quickly looked away, pretending to tighten his glove. "I mean risky to play against you," he added clumsily. She didn't reply, but a faint blush crept onto her cheeks. That evening, as she walked back to the dorms, she replayed the moment in her head. Did he mean it? Or was it just another one of his jokes? She hated that she cared, but she did. Meanwhile, in his own room, Ethan lay on his bed, tossing a cricket ball in the air. He couldn't shake off the image of her dive, the way her hand had felt in his. It wasn't supposed to feel like that. Cricket was simple. You played, you won, you moved on. But now, everything was different. Days passed. The trials got tougher. The competition fiercer. Yet, no matter how hard things got, whenever Ethan looked at Amelia, he found his calm. And whenever she heard his voice, even her tired body found strength. One night, after a long practice, they found themselves alone again on the pitch. The floodlights buzzed softly above, and the city lights shimmered in the distance. Amelia was packing up when Ethan said, "Stay for one more over?" She hesitated. "It's late." "Just one over," he insisted. "If you bowl me out, I'll buy you dinner." She smirked. And if I don't? Then you still get dinner. She laughed, shaking her head. You really don't know when to quit. Not when it comes to you, he said quietly. She bowled. He played. Over after over, the playful tension grew. Every ball was a conversation. Every glance a confession neither dared to voice. When the last ball rolled to a stop, Amelia turned to leave, but Ethan spoke again, softly, seriously this time. You know, Amelia, cricket's the only game where you can lose and still feel like you've won. That's how I feel every time I play with you. She stopped. For a second, she didn't breathe. Then she turned, her eyes glimmering under the lights. Then don't lose, she whispered. Play to win, always. And with that, she walked away, her shadow stretching across the field, leaving Ethan standing there, smiling, knowing deep down that this, whatever it was far from over. That night, under the quiet sky, both of them dreamed of the same thing, a match that hadn't yet been played, and a love that was just beginning to take shape between wickets and whispers. The days leading up to the Nationals were a blur of sweat, strategy, and sleepless nights. The academy had turned into a storm of energy, every player fighting to prove they belonged. But amidst the chaos, Ethan and Amelia found their rhythm, their partnership growing stronger with each passing day. Their teamwork had become effortless. Ethan's timing at the crease matched perfectly with Amelia's instincts from the other end. They didn't need to shout. A glance was enough. A nod. A half-smile. It was as if cricket had written its own secret language for them, one only they could understand. Coach Harris noticed it too. You too, he said one morning during drills. Play like you've known each other your whole lives. Don't lose that connection. It's what great teams are built on. Amelia smiled modestly, but Ethan couldn't help smirking. So, Coach, are you saying we're the Academy's secret weapon? Harris rolled his eyes. I'm saying, don't let your heart get in the way of your game. That line stuck with both of them, though neither said it out loud, because deep down, they both knew. The heart was already involved. The evening before the national selection, the team gathered for a casual dinner. The atmosphere was light, laughter, stories, harmless teasing. But for Ethan and Amelia, the unspoken tension buzzed louder than the chatter around them. Ready for tomorrow? Ethan asked as they stepped outside afterward, the night air cool and calm. I think so, Amelia said softly. It's just, this means everything to me. I know, he said, and you've earned it. She looked up at him. What about you? You've been off your usual game lately. He laughed quietly. Maybe because I've been thinking about something, or someone, a little too much. Amelia froze for a moment, pretending to brush back her hair. You should focus on cricket, she said. Yeah, he said, his voice low. But you make that pretty hard. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was electric, the kind that made every breath feel heavier. They stood by the practice nets, the floodlights behind them, and the sound of distant traffic filling the space between their words. Ethan, she whispered finally, this isn't the time. He smiled softly. Maybe not, but someday it will be. The next morning dawned bright and fierce. The national selection matches had begun. Every ball, every run, every mistake mattered. The stands were filled with scouts, reporters, and the unmistakable hum of anticipation. Amelia was opening the batting. Ethan would follow next. She took her stance, calm, focused, determined. The first ball came fast. She drove it straight past mid-off for 4. Ethan, watching from the pavilion, couldn't stop smiling. By the time she reached 45 runs, the team was on its feet. Then came a sharp bouncer. Amelia tried to duck, but it caught the edge of her glove and went straight up. Out. She walked back, disappointed but proud. Ethan met her halfway, patting her shoulder. Hey, he said, you were brilliant. Not brilliant enough, she sighed. Then watch and see how it's done. He winked. He walked out to the field, bat in hand, confidence radiating like sunlight. Every stroke he played carried both passion and poise. But as he looked toward the stands, his eyes found Amelia, and suddenly, every run he scored felt like a heartbeat shared. When he reached his 50, the crowd cheered, but it wasn't the applause that made his chest tighten. It was the way Amelia smiled at him. For a second, The world faded away. It was just them. Later, after the game, Coach Harris called them both. "You two are officially selected for the national team. Congratulations." They looked at each other in stunned silence, then broke into laughter. Amelia threw her arms around him before realizing what she'd done. She stepped back quickly, embarrassed, but Ethan just whispered, "You can't take that back now." That night, the celebration was loud and wild. Music, cheers, flashing lights. But Ethan and Amelia slipped away quietly to the empty cricket ground. The floodlights were off. The stars above them were enough. "Feels unreal," Amelia said, sitting on the boundary rope. "It is real," Ethan replied, sitting beside her. "You earned this." She looked at him, her expression soft. "We earned it." For a while, neither spoke. Then Ethan said, "You know, when I first joined this academy, I just wanted to win matches. But now, I think I've already won something bigger." She raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" "You," he said simply. Amelia's breath caught. The words hung between them, unguarded and honest. "You shouldn't say things like that," she murmured. "Why not?" "Because I might start believing them." Ethan smiled, leaning closer. "Then believe it." Their eyes met, steady, uncertain, full of everything they tried to hide. For a long time, the only sound was the soft hum of the night wind across the field. Then Amelia stood up, her heart racing faster than any over she'd ever bowled. "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Amelia," he said, his voice warm. "And hey." She turned. "Tomorrow, we play our first match together," he said. "Let's make sure it's unforgettable." As she walked away, she smiled to herself. It already was. That night, neither of them could sleep. Not because of nerves or fear, but because love, like cricket, had a way of keeping you awake, waiting for the next beautiful over. The stadium in Mumbai roared with energy. It was the biggest stage of their lives, the International Youth Cricket Cup. Ethan and Amelia stood side by side, wearing the national colors, feeling the weight of the moment. For the world, it was a match. For them, it was a dream that had started with a single glance on an academy field. The air was thick with adrenaline. The national anthem played, the crowd cheered, and Amelia felt her chest tighten, not from nerves, but from the quiet realization that this was real. She turned to Ethan, who gave her a reassuring smile. "Ready?" he whispered. "Always," she replied. The match began with high tension. Amelia opened the bowling, fierce and focused. Her delivery sliced through the air like lightning, sharp, disciplined, and beautiful to watch. Ethan fielded near the boundary, shouting encouragement, clapping every time she took a wicket. It was their unspoken rhythm again, the same one that had carried them through training and trials. But cricket, like love, had its tests. When Ethan came out to bat, the pressure was immense. The opposition bowlers were ruthless. A few early wickets had fallen, and the crowd's energy had shifted from excitement to worry. Amelia watched from the sidelines, her nails digging into her palms. Ethan took guard. The sun beat down mercilessly. The bowler ran in, fast, furious, and delivered a yorker that missed the stumps by inches. Ethan smiled, tapping the pitch. The next ball, he sent flying over the covers for a boundary. The crowd erupted. Amelia couldn't help it. She jumped to her feet, clapping hard, her heart pounding like a drum. Every run he scored felt like her own victory. But then, in the 40th over, it happened. A mistimed shot, a diving catch, and Ethan was out. He walked off slowly, the applause echoing around him, his eyes finding Amelia's. He gave her a small nod, as if saying, "I tried." She nodded back, whispering to herself, "You did more than enough." That night, the hotel was quiet. Everyone else had gone to sleep, exhausted after the emotional roller coaster of the game. But Amelia couldn't rest. She found herself standing on the balcony, staring at the city lights below, lost in thought. "You're awake too?" a familiar voice asked behind her. Ethan stepped out, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one. "You should be resting," she said softly. He shrugged. "Can't. My mind's still playing the match in slow motion." "Mine too," she admitted. They stood side by side, the night wind playing with Amelia's hair. For a while, neither spoke. Then Ethan said quietly, "You know, I used to think cricket was the only thing that mattered. But lately, when I walk onto the field, it's not just a game I play for." Amelia turned toward him. "Then what do you play for?" He met her eyes. "For you." Her breath caught. The words were soft, but they landed deep. "Ethan, don't say things like that." "Why not? It's the truth." "Because if you mean it, it changes everything." "Maybe everything needs to change," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Silence stretched between them. The city below sparkled, unaware of the quiet confession hanging in the air. Finally, Amelia looked away. "We can't," she said, her voice trembling. "We're in the middle of our careers. People talk. The media. Let them talk." He interrupted gently. "We know who we are. That's not enough." "For me it is," he said softly. She wanted to walk away, but her feet refused. Every word he said made it harder to hide what she already felt. The line between friendship and something deeper had blurred long ago. Now it was almost invisible. After a long pause, she whispered, "Good night, Ethan." But as she turned, he caught her wrist gently. "Amelia, wait." She froze. The warmth of his hand sent a shiver through her. He let go immediately, realizing what he'd done. "Sorry," he said quietly. She looked up at him, her voice barely steady. "Don't be." Their eyes locked again, two players who could read each other's moves better than anyone else. The only difference now was, this wasn't a game. Over the next few weeks, the team traveled from city to city, match to match. The chemistry between them grew stronger, but so did the distance. Every win felt hollow if the other wasn't part of it. Every smile was incomplete without the other's laughter. The pressure mounted. The tabloids had started to notice their closeness. Headlines appeared, asterisk star players or secret lovers. Asterisk. Coach Harris called them both in. "You two need to stay focused," he warned. "You're young, talented, but this, whatever this is, could destroy your careers before they even begin." Amelia nodded, her throat tight. Ethan stayed silent. After the meeting, he said quietly, "Maybe he's right." "Maybe he is," she said. "So, do we stop talking?" She shook her head. "No, we just stop pretending." He smiled faintly. "Then that's good enough for me." Their final match of the series came in London. Rain clouds loomed, tension hung heavy, and the game was tied with 1 over left. Amelia bowled the final over, defending 6 runs. Her heartbeat matched the rhythm of the crowd's chant. Ethan, stationed at mid-on, watched her every move. The last ball, a perfect Yorker, crashed into the stumps. The crowd exploded. They'd won. Ethan ran toward her, lifting her off the ground in a spinning hug. Cameras flashed, cheers erupted, and for one suspended heartbeat, it didn't matter who was watching. It was just them. As he set her down, he whispered in her ear, "See, we don't need to cross boundaries to love. We just need to play within them." She smiled through tears, whispering back, "Then let's never stop playing." The world around them cheered, the stadium lights blazing like stars, and in that moment, amidst victory and noise, 2 hearts quietly celebrated a love that had finally found its boundary. The world saw them as the perfect pair, 2 young cricketers who made victory look effortless. But behind the bright lights and winning smiles, Ethan and Amelia were struggling with something neither of them knew how to face. After the London match, everything changed. The headlines didn't stop. Photos of their embrace filled every sports column. Commentators debated their relationship more than their performance. Some fans adored them, others criticized them, and the board was not happy. Coach Harris called them in again. His tone was heavier this time. "You've both done incredibly well for this team," he said. "But the media attention is becoming a distraction. One of you may need to step back for a while." The words hung in the air like a drop catch. Amelia felt her chest tighten. "Step back." "From what?" "From the team," Harris said firmly. "At least until things cool down." Ethan immediately spoke. "Then I'll go. It's my fault. I'll take a break." Amelia turned to him sharply. "No, you won't. Amelia, you've worked for this your whole life. You're not giving it up because of me. And you think I'll let you do it instead?" Their voices rose, emotion spilling into the room. Coach Harris sighed and stepped out quietly, leaving them alone. For the first time in months, there was no playful banter, no teasing smiles, just silence. The kind that hurts more than any words. "You can't protect me like this," she said finally. "I'm not protecting you," he said quietly. "I'm protecting us. There is no us if we lose everything we've worked for." Ethan looked away, clenching his fists. "So what do we do?" Amelia swallowed hard. "We do what we should have done a long time ago. Focus on the game. Nothing else." He looked at her, his heart breaking behind his calm expression. "So you're saying this. Whatever we are, it's over." She hesitated. Every part of her wanted to say no. But her mind, her fear, her career, they all screamed yes. "Yes," she whispered. "It has to be." Ethan nodded slowly. "All right, if that's what you want." "It's what's right," she said, though her voice trembled. Weeks turned into months. Ethan took a break from social media, interviews, everything. Amelia threw herself into training, playing match after match, pretending she was fine. But every time she walked onto the field, something felt missing, like the pitch itself had lost its balance. At one international game in Melbourne, fate decided to play its cruelest over yet. It was a tense semi-final match. The score was close. Amelia was batting. Ethan had been called back into the team as a late replacement after another player's injury. They hadn't spoken since London. Now they were back on the same field, but not the same as before. The crowd roared as Ethan walked into bat. For a moment, their eyes met. No words, no nods, just a silent acknowledgement of everything unsaid. The game was down to the final over. 6 runs to win. Amelia was on strike. First ball, dot. Second ball, 2 runs. Third ball, single. Now Ethan faced the bowler. 3 runs needed off 3 balls. He hit it hard toward mid-wicket and called run. Amelia sprinted. "No," she shouted, but it was too late. The fielder swooped in fast. A direct hit. The bails flew off. The stadium went silent. Ethan was run out. For a second, Amelia froze. Then reality crashed in. He had sacrificed his wicket to get her on strike. She dropped her bat, her throat tightening. Ethan looked up from the ground, smiling faintly. "Finish it," he mouthed. She did. The next ball, a perfect cover drive boundary. The crowd exploded. Victory. But Amelia didn't raise her bat. She didn't smile. She couldn't. After the match, she found him sitting alone near the locker rooms, taping his fingers quietly. "You didn't have to take that run," she said softly. He didn't look up. "You were the better finisher. That's not why you did it." He smiled. Old habits die hard. She took a deep breath. "I'm sorry, Ethan." He finally met her eyes. "For what?" "For walking away when you stayed." He sighed, leaning back against the wall. "You did what you thought was right." "It wasn't right," she said, tears welling up. "I thought pushing you away would protect us both, but all it did was hurt." He stood up slowly, walking closer. "So what now?" Amelia blinked, her voice shaking. "Now, I don't know." Ethan smiled sadly. "Then let's just play the next over and see where it goes." She laughed softly through her tears. "You never stop using cricket metaphors, do you?" "Only when I mean them," he said. For a long moment, they stood there, not as teammates, not as stars, just 2 people who had found and lost each other in the same game. And somewhere deep down, they both knew. Love, like cricket, isn't about never getting out. It's about coming back stronger every time you do. A year had passed since the run-out. That changed everything. Cricket had taken them both to different places, new teams, new tournaments, new headlines. But no matter where Amelia played, the crowd still remembered that moment in Melbourne. The moment she hit the winning shot and didn't celebrate. Ethan had joined a new league overseas, far from home, far from the memories. He told himself he'd moved on. But every time he heard the sound of a ball striking the bat, he remembered her voice, the laughter between overs, the soft good luck before every match. Life, however, has its own timing, just like the perfect delivery. The World Cup season was about to begin, and fate, once again, wrote their names on the same page. England versus Australia. Opening match. Ethan and Amelia, both selected, both captains. The press went wild. Former lovers, now rivals. Heartbreak returns to the pitch. But neither of them gave interviews. Both knew. Some things are too personal for headlines. The stadium in Sydney was packed. Flags waved. Cameras flashed. The roar was deafening. Amelia adjusted her gloves. Her heart beat faster than ever. When she walked out to toss the coin, Ethan was already waiting at the center. Their eyes met, calm, yet filled with 1,000 memories. "Tails," she called. The coin landed. "Heads," said the umpire. Ethan smiled faintly. "We'll bat first." For a moment, she wanted to say something, anything, but the cameras turned, and they walked away in silence. Ethan played with the same elegance he always had. Every stroke was clean, composed, confident. When he reached his 50, the crowd applauded, and Amelia, standing at the boundary, found herself smiling before she realized it. But cricket has its twists. A sharp bouncer, a misjudged pull, and Ethan fell, caught behind. As he walked off, he glanced toward the English dugout. Amelia stood up, clapping softly. No cameras noticed, but he did. That one silent gesture said everything she couldn't say out loud. England's chase began under pressure. The scoreboard climbed, wickets fell. Amelia stood firm, fighting through every delivery, sweat running down her face, the weight of the match, and her heart heavy on her shoulders. Final over. 6 runs to win. Ethan stood at mid-off, watching her closely. The bowler ran in. First ball, second 2 runs. Third 1 run. 3 needed off 3. Then came the fourth ball, a full toss. Amelia hit it high, up into the night sky. The crowd gasped. Ethan ran backward, eyes on the ball, heart pounding. And then he stopped, just a fraction early. The ball dropped behind him. 6 runs. Game over. Amelia froze, realizing what had happened. Ethan had let it drop. The stadium erupted. England had won, but Amelia didn't cheer. She walked straight to him as fireworks burst above. "Why did you stop?" she asked softly. He smiled, tired, breathless. "Maybe. I just wanted to see you win again." "That's not fair," she said, voice breaking. He shrugged. "Love rarely is." She laughed through her tears. "You're impossible. And you're worth every impossible thing," he said. The crowd chanted their names. The cameras flashed. But for the two of them, the world had gone silent. "I guess this is our last match together," Amelia whispered. Ethan shook his head. "No, just the end of one innings. There's always another game." She smiled, the same smile that started everything, and took his hand as they walked off the field together. Months later, a small headline appeared in the sports section. "Cricket stars Ethan and Amelia announce engagement. Our best partnership yet." No controversy, no noise. Just 2 people who finally learned that the heart, like the game, always finds its rhythm again. And somewhere, on a quiet pitch at sunset, their laughter echoed across the field. 2 souls who had played, lost, and loved their way to forever.